What's up guys, welcome back. I'm Lorena from Green Healthy Cooking and today I'm going to teach you how to cook quinoa. So I find it a bit silly that quinoa packages have a quinoa to water suggestion, but without taking into consideration what equipment you're using to cook it in. Because you need to know a couple of very important things before you start cooking. The circumference of your pot and how tight a lid is sitting on top of the pot has a huge impact on water requirements. In a pot with a large circumference, there is a lot of water evaporation, way more than in a small pot. And also, the tighter the lid fits, the less water evaporates. If you have a lid with a hole in it, there's tons of water evaporation there and you have to count all of that water evaporation in and add that water in the cooking process. Now, I find that the best results are always acquired in the Instant Pot because the cooking situation is always the same. So for perfectly cooked quinoa, every time I highly suggest you use the Instant Pot. If you don't have an Instant Pot, don't worry, I'll show you all the tips and tricks on how to cook it on the stovetop. Okay, so let's get to the cooking process. Regardless of if you're using the Instant Pot or the stovetop, you're going to want to rinse your quinoa. Now, I don't do this half of the time because I just don't care enough, but the packaging says to rinse your quinoa, so that's what we're going to do today. You're going to want to measure out 1 cup of quinoa. It's probably important that I mention here 1 cup of raw white quinoa will yield 3 cups of cooked quinoa, but the red and the black will only yield 2 cups of cooked quinoa. Okay, so depending on how much your family is going to eat, you're going to have to measure out 1 or 2 cups of quinoa. So in my case, I'm just making 1 cup. You measure out 1 cup of quinoa and then you're going to want to rinse it in a colander. Just let water run over it until the water comes out clear at the bottom and all the starch has been removed. Then add that wet, drained quinoa into your Instant Pot, season it with a little bit of salt, add the same ratio of water. So if you used a measuring cup and used 1 cup of quinoa, you're going to use that same measuring cup and use 1 cup of water. The cup volume doesn't matter. It could also be a yogurt container or anything really, but use the same volume measurement of quinoa and water. So add the same amount of water to your Instant Pot, put on the lid, seal it, and then set your Instant Pot to 1 minute on high pressure for white quinoa, 2 minutes for red quinoa, and 3 minutes for black quinoa. After the high pressure cooking time is over, you're going to do absolutely nothing to your Instant Pot. You're not going to touch the sealing valve. You don't want quick pressure release, you want natural pressure release. Natural pressure release means you don't even look at the Instant Pot. You wait for the pressure to release naturally and the safety pin to drop all on its own. Once the safety pin dropped, which should take anywhere from like 12 to maybe 18 minutes, it's safe to open the pot and then take a fork and immediately fluff up your quinoa. So while it's still hot and steaming, you're going to take the fork and fluff, 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 fluff. And this is how white cooked quinoa looks. This is how red cooked quinoa looks. And this is how black cooked quinoa looks. Now it's ready to serve. Now, if you don't have an Instant Pot and you want to use your stovetop, I recommend using a small pot with a very tight sitting lid. And same thing, add your rinsed and drained quinoa to the pot, the same amount of water, a little bit of sea salt, then carry it over to your stovetop, put the burner on high and stand right there. Don't walk away. It's very important that you don't miss a very critical moment. When it first starts boiling, when you have the first little bubbles, that's when you immediately want to put on the lid and reduce the heat to low. If you miss that moment, tons of water will evaporate and in that case the quinoa won't cook. So make sure you don't walk away, you stare right into your pot, and as soon as it bubbles, you put on the lid and reduce the heat. Then you go ahead and set a timer for 15 minutes, and after the 15 minutes, do not lift the lid. No peeking, really, like you can't peek. You remove your pot from the heat, set it on the kitchen counter, and you're going to want to let it steam for another 10 minutes. After the 10 minutes, it's safe to lift off the pot, use your fork to fluff it up, and it's ready to serve. This is a great meal prep side dish because the texture stays amazing even if it's been stored in the fridge for up to 4 days. And it's also an amazing grain to freeze. You can freeze it in individual portions, so you have it on hand for those nights where you don't even have time for the Instant Pot to get to pressure. Just put it in a pan to defrost and your quinoa is ready. I hope you found this guide useful. If you try my quinoa cooking method, please let me know. I always want to know if it worked for you, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!